Issuing from the safe haven of World War II, Call of Duty Modern Warfare takes the adrenaline-fueled gameplay the series is known for and adjusts its time and date to something closer to our own. Instead of battling the Third Reich, your enemies are now Arab insurgents and Russian rogues. Instead of rickety, unreliable weaponry, you are given the latest and most technologically advanced guns. But despite a change of scenery, is it still a worthy Call of Duty game? While at first the story might seem like a typical good guys versus bad guys scenario, the narrative is anything but. Call of Duty 4 is in fact highly critical of the double standards we often see in war. The game makes it clear that you aren't saving the world, but rather trying to contain a situation before it becomes critical. At best, you're merely buying time, and at worst, you're outright contributing to the situation. This isn't about good versus evil. It's about how taking out hundreds of hostiles is actually irrelevant when taking into account the bigger picture. Call of Duty 4 starts with an interesting tutorial that tests your skill so that you can choose the most appropriate difficulty. From here on out, you become involved in a variety of dangerous missions. Everything from stealth to assaults to vehicle sections where you assist your squad are par for the course, but the differences between this experience and the typical first-person shooter don't end there. Your HUD is minimal, showing only how much ammo you have and what direction you're facing. Not only that, but your accuracy is heavily dependent on your stance. Running and firing from the hip here will only get you killed. The only way to succeed in Call of Duty 4 is to stay put, aim down the sights preferably while leaning, and advance once there are no more enemies. While you will be accompanied by fellow squad mates, their efficiency is questionable at best. What's worse, the game sometimes just keeps respawning enemies until you cross an invisible line. This can make for some frustrating trial and error. The game also isn't very long, at little more than 5 to 6 hours, but this is a case of quality over quantity. But the single player isn't all there is. Call of Duty 4 also sports a robust multiplayer mode that lets you play how you want. You can choose a primary and secondary weapon, and each has its strengths and weaknesses. Assault rifles can best be described as jacks of all trades, while submachine guns trade power for mobility, and heavy machine guns are the exact opposite. With the exception of shotguns and sniper rifles, which are far too situational to be of consistent use, choosing the weapon you want comes down more to how you want to play than anything else. There are also 3 distinct perks where you can choose anything from more health to being impervious to UAV detection. Perk 1, however, is limited to explosives. But the kill streaks are what steals the show. At 3 consecutive kills without dying, you get the ability to call in a UAV to tell you where everyone is. At 5 kills, you can call in an airstrike. And at 7, a friendly helicopter can provide support. Using these doesn't mean you've instantly won, as careless use can lead to one wasting them. The progression system is one of the smartest ever seen in a first-person shooter. Higher level characters won't simply obliterate low level players, they'll simply have more options. That said, Call of Duty 4's multiplayer has seen better days. There is a good number of servers left, but the game's anti-cheat protection, Punkbuster, no longer officially supports it. To be able to play the game without fear of hackers, you'll have to download a legacy version of this software and refuse any updates. Unfortunately, even if you take these extra steps, there are still spawn campers to worry about, and even worse, the number of playable servers shrinks considerably. It's truly disheartening to see what was once a multiplayer juggernaut reduced to a mess of cheaters and/or exploiters. Reaching the final levels is also outright tedious, as by that time the only thing that can still level you up significantly is completing headshot challenges, and finally, if hardcore mode doesn't sound good to you, tough shit, as it just so happens that most safe servers have said option enabled. On a more positive note, the orchestral soundtrack is nothing short of epic, emphasizing each moment beautifully. Guns are punchy and the dialogue has some actual flavor, but if there's one thing Call of Duty 4 needs to be congratulated for, it's that it remembers that English isn't the primary language for every person on Earth. Visually, this is quite the spectacle, both figuratively and literally. The textures range from good to insanely detailed, and smoke looks as good as real. But the real achievement is its steady frame rate. As long as you have a dedicated graphics card, the frame rate does not drop below 60 no matter what. Whether you're seeing a few dozen models or an entire city, the game runs silky smooth. Call of Duty 4 is, for better or worse, a game that deserved its success. Despite the consequences of said success, it's a game that's worth your time if you haven't played it already. If the multiplayer weren't compromised, and the Steam version would actually see some sales from time to time, it could have been recommended without hesitation. As it stands, despite being a classic, one should only get their hands on it if he or she were interested in the single player and could get their hands on a cheap retail copy. But if you can be sure it will have been worth it.